Combat sports fans, welcome to another great edition of Strong Style. I'm your host, Jeremy the Impact York. This is Impact Media's weekly dive into the world of professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. I want to welcome you guys in. There is a lot. We are talking a lot to get into. So let's not waste much time. Of course, if you want to help the show, you can go to our YouTube page, Impact_Media_ and find all of our amazing shows outside of our hockey show. That is a whole different one. If you need that one, just let me know. But my goodness, is there quite a bit to talk about this week. We, of course, are going to talk some NWA Power. We are going to talk some NXT, the crossover with TNA. We are going to talk some AEW. But first, I want to talk about UFC. Was it 320? Was it 320? 320. 320. Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. Boy, all the hype leading up to this one, I think, had a great payoff when Alex Pereira said, I get paid by the fight, not by the minute. Gets out of there with 80 seconds into this one. Drops Magomed Ankalaev. I believe he is now the lightweight champion. Everybody talks about what Pereira is going to do next. How about he enjoys being champ? How about that? Because when you put on a show like that, Ankalaev is no pushover, folks. He's not a pushover. He's not a he is not a lack of a better term, a curtain jerker. He's not an entry level guy. Magomed Ankalaev is a dog. Is a big time dog. Gets in there, junkyard dog, and can just go with anybody. If they line it up again, it might go the other way. But on this particular night, Alex Pereira with the fantastic ending of this one, drops him, finishes with the punches, puts it over. Most of the time, at least it went over a minute. It went 80 seconds because a lot of people were like, "Oh, those are too quick," and I just bought this whole pay-per-view and it only lasted this. I'm good with that. Because if you want to see the technical battle, that was the Merab Dvalishvili win over Corey Sandhagen. He gets a unanimous decision win there. Merab just outgasses people. On top of, he's just one of the most technical fighters there is out there. I'm sure he could end fights if he wanted to. I think he enjoys taking them to the end. I really do. He likes to get on his bike and ride. And that's what he does. He will ride circles around people. And I thought Corey Sandhagen did a pretty good job of hanging with him because it can't be easy. It's like trying to bike ride with Lance Armstrong during his heyday when he won all those Tour de France's. It's, he's like, hey, let's go to leisurely stroll. Yeah, he's not going to. He's going to push it up the side of a mountain or off the side of a building, like Batman and Robin style or something. And that's Merab. Oh, let's go on a bike ride. Yeah, good luck. Absolutely good luck. But that was a fantastic one as well. What about right there in the light heavyweight division? The big TKO from Yuri Prohaska. Yuri, what a great win that was. And he was on Ariel's show this week and just a fantastic appearance for him there. Yuri is just such a down-to-earth guy and such a cool guy. He said he went out to see the main event, not to call anybody out or anything, but no, he is very excited. I believe he said he talked to Alex Pereira. And his crew and all that, and congratulated him. And he would love another piece of him, but we'll see what happens with that, with what Pereira decides to do. But Yeri with a big win. Yusuf Zalal over Josh Emmett by submission. This card had all. It was an armbar, right? He put him in the armbar, yeah. And this card had just all the stuff that you want out of a card. It's like going to the circus. You don't want to see 3 trapeze artists. You want to see one really good one. You don't want to see 6 lion tamers. I just want to see one one bearded lady, one set of clowns. I don't know what a set of clowns is called. A carnival of clowns. We'll go with that. I don't want to see uh, seven seven tightrope walkers. And we just want to see one really good one. Well, that's what we got here. You got your submission win. You got your round three KO by Prohaska. You get the unanimous decision, Marab just putting on a clinic. You get the 80-second knockout by Pereira. And not to be outdone out of all that, what about Joe Pfeiffer with Abus Magomedov? He submits him too. He gets him with a rear naked choke. And that thing was fantastic. What was the official time on that? Was minute 46 into round number two. You don't get much better than that, folks. If you bought the pay-per-view, you got your money's worth. I don't want to hear it. First off, you paid it. Second off, that's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic to get two subs, two TKOs, and a unanimous decision technical clinic put on by Corey Sandhagen and Merab Dvalishvili. What else do you want out of the UFC? You got everything right there. None of those were boring fights. Those were great. Those were absolutely fantastic. You look through the rest of the card, Daniel Santos with the big TKO, Edmund Sabazian with a TKO, Poinhele Soriano with the unanimous decision over Nikolay Veretennikov, Yana Santos with a big win over Macy's Chazon. Macy's no pushover. Can't miss. How about out of the gate, unanimous decision win by Veronica Hardy? Shout out Veronica Hardy. I enjoyed meeting her a handful of times as I did through the PFL when she was there with Dan. My Dan was working. As I said, she hung out in the media room with us, and she couldn't have been better. But she gets a big win, even though she's a big favorite. She gets a big win there, bounces back. Just absolutely spectacular. Are they going to take a week off? No. We've got UFC Fight Night. Where is Fight Night this time around? It's Brazil. Wow, at the Pharmacy Arena in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. ESPN 7 p.m. main card. ESPN Plus, by the way. ESPN Plus is going to have the 4 p.m. prelim. We're going to get Charles Oliveira versus Mateus Gamrot. It's basically a minus 115 to a minus 105. That tells me Vegas has no idea who's going to win this. It sounds like they want Charles Oliveira, but by about this much. Could this thing go to the decision? Sure. I also think that one of the two of them can make a stop here. Man, Gamrot is really good, but Charles has been in the game a long time, and I think he's going to be really hard to stop here. I got to kind of agree with Vegas. I think Charles Oliveira is going to win this either late in the third or by decision. Also, we're going to get Davison Figueiredo and Montel Jackson in the co-main event. Figueiredo is a plus 250 dog in that, and a minus 320 favorite for Montel Jackson. I don't know a lot about Jackson. I think I've seen a couple fights. I don't know much, but getting Davison Figueiredo in a co-main event, can't be a slouch and do that. I still think Figueiredo finds a way to get it done. No idea how. Also, Vicente Luque is going to take on Joel Alvarez. Alvarez is a massive favorite. Once again, Luque has just been getting it done. But I'll go with Alvarez on this one. At a minus 700. Luque is a plus 450 if you want to maybe throw down a little bit, just see if you can maybe quadruple up your money. But it seems to me Alvarez is the big favorite. Also, Yonata Deniz is a minus 135 over Mario Pinto. And that's two heavyweights. They're going to be throwing those cinder block hands. Plus 115 for Pinto. Give me Pinto. Give me the slight underdog in him. And then finally, Ricardo Ramos at a minus 190 over Khan Offley. Is Offley fighting the PFL? Man, he sounds familiar. Not awfully familiar. I'm not trying to make that joke, although I guess I just did. But he's a plus 160. Give me Ricardo Ramos in that one. Some other Rafael Filo is fighting Clayton Carpenter. Um, Walter Walker versus Muhammad Usman. And Julia Palastri versus Carolina Kawakevich. There's some good fights on there. This is a sneaky good card. Definitely sneaky good card coming up there. So, before we get into, it's weird to say pro ranks because before we get into the TV, let's talk about Premier All Star Wrestling. I was there on Saturday over the weekend. They had their event out in Carrollton. Total Elimination. Had some really good matches, man. OXP versus Justin McKenzie. Those are two guys that are great with speed and maneuverability and the kicks and the strikes. OXP, of course, I believe is he was in Cobra Kai. I believe his name is Diego. But OXP, I talked to him a little bit after the event. He could not be nicer. Great young kid, and I told him, I said, a lot of people when they see people from other walks of life, from acting or other sports, and they get into wrestling and they kind of don't put in the work. He's putting in the work. He's actually a solid professional wrestler on top of being a really good actor. So it was good talking to him as well. I think McKenzie got the win in that one. Xander Warwick he was going to take on a member of Greatness Inc. And of course, he took on Chris Gaines, the technical wizard, the cerebral technician. That's what I call him, cerebral technician of Lethal Games. And they put a stipulation out that anytime any member of Lethal Games is in a match in Premier, whether it's 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, if any member, their championships are on the line. I actually ran into Ryan Marks, who was not at this show, over the weekend, and I brought that up to him, and he says, "When was this?" Apparently, it was a stipulation that was added by the general manager, Jason Boyd, at this event. And I said, well, you need to get Richard Page, your guy, to look into the paperwork and everything, or get somebody to, because Gaines had to defend all three belts by himself in that match with Warwick, and luckily it was DQ. He lost by DQ to Warwick, but had he lost by pinfall or submission, you would have lost all three of your titles. That did not put Marks in a very good mood, by the way. I was very excited that there was a barrier between us. But let's see, I told you the winner of that one. Cameron Keith. Cameron Keith took on Aaron Dallas with Eastern Dallas, and Cameron Keith is most notably from Pro South. I've seen him out there in Piedmont. Him and Aaron Dallas put on a heck of a show. I very much enjoyed seeing Cameron for the first time live. Aaron Dallas is always really good. Make sure to listen to, I had the Loyalist from Bullpen on this week. Make sure to go check that out and see what he said about Aaron and Easton Dallas. And who else did he say? Oh, and Dante Diamond. But definitely go check out that chat because it's pretty entertaining. But Cameron Keaston and Aaron Dallas, I thought had a fantastic match. Caden Uten come in, and I was not familiar with him as well a whole lot. I know a little bit about him from Pro South, but he throws a spear, very moose-like spear, and I liked the roll through and everything. And he actually came out and, based on a distraction, was able to take out Dallas, and then Keith rolls in for the cover and the 1-2-3 there. They start double teaming him. Ethan Dallas starts to run in, and Ethan eats a fireball in the face for his effort. It temporarily blinded him in one eye. I saw him post show, and he had his eye bandaged, and he was going to get it. He had cleared medical as far as preliminarily there, but they had recommended that he go get checked out by a bigger facility. So he was going to do that after the show. But yeah, it didn't put Aaron in a real good mood either. But Cameron Keith won that one, and since Aston Martin come out to help even the odds, he ended up with a match with Caden Uten, of course, with Cameron Keith out there. And thanks to Cameron Keith being out there, Caden Newton won that match. Once again, he throws a really, really good spear. It looked really good. Now to the one that I called match of the night, and I've told both competitors that, as De Silva went against Alexander Lev for the Georgia Heritage Championship. Like I said, I've told both competitors. I told Alexander Lev there, and I told De Silva just a few nights ago. We were talking about an upcoming show through messages. And I thought this would be a different match. I thought it was going to be good. They gave us a technical clinic that was spectacular. I give it match of the night by far. I really, really enjoyed it. De Silva reminds me of Taz a lot. He's built a lot that amateur background with a lot of suplexes, but Taz can't run and move like De Silva does, and he sometimes moves like a cruiserweight, and it's unreal. And then Alexander Lev, one of the best in the state, also in the NWA world. Man, it was like this. I thought De Silva has the power advantage, Lev had the speed advantage, but we got to see De Silva show off his speed, and we got to see Lev show off his power, and so we just got a little bit of everything. And like I said, this was by far match of the night to me, and the rest of them were really good. Lev does retain. Because he is the only one, Alexander Lev. But my goodness, was this a great, great match. And then we get to the main event where we get a 5-on-5. We get Christian Pierce. We get Aiden Andrews. We get Baracus. We get Stevie Ray Frost and Xander Seabolt. And they are all against John Nelson, Joe Black, AJ Black, Eddie Hendricks, and Ace Haven, with Amy Haven, of course, down at ringside. This was all Survivor Series style. That's the easiest way to put it. If you get pinned or submitted or counted out or disqualified, you're to the back. Couple things. If somebody were to pin Stevie Ray Frost in this matchup, you become the number one contender. Let's tuck that one away. Also, at some point, they didn't interact much during the match. There was just a part where Joe Black completely annihilates AJ Black and leaves him laying, and Joe glares at the crowd, glares back at AJ, and walks to the back. Technically, he wasn't legal in the match. So I don't know if they counted him out or if he was ever eliminated. So let's keep that in mind too. But yeah, he laid out AJ Black, who eventually got laid out as well. So we are going to get the battle of the up and comer AJ Black versus the Georgia stalwart, one of the best in the state as well, with Joe Black. We're gonna get to see what that's all about. Probably in a couple weeks. I'll tell you about their upcoming show here in a minute. But this all comes down to Frost and Seabolt versus Nelson and Hendricks. Yep, Eddie Hendricks sitting there in the end. It was a little bit of a surprise to me, not because I didn't think he was good enough or anything, because he's really been doing some spectacular things. I just look at everybody else in the match, and I thought it was great that for him to be in the final like that. So the end of this goes where Hendricks does a big slam on Frost and eliminates him. And Xander Seabolt comes running in, and Sean Nelson does the swinging flatliner slam that he does and eliminates him. And they both are celebrating. And Jason Boyd comes in and he says, "Congratulations to you two on the victory." And then he looks at Eddie Hendricks and he goes, "Congratulations to you on being number one contender." And Shawn Nelson says, "You want to run that by me again? I got the final pinfall. I eliminated Seabolt." Jason Boyd said, "Yes, you did. And you won the match for your team." But Eddie Hendricks pinned Frost. And as per the stipulation, if you pin Frost in this matchup, you become number one contender. So your new number one contender is Eddie Hendricks. How spectacular is that? Absolutely spectacular. I told you they have an event coming up. It is next Saturday. It is at Buchanan. It will be right up the road from our studio here. Doors open at 6:30. Bell time at 7:30. We'll talk more about it next week as well. But you will see Hendricks versus Frost in the main event for the heavyweight title. That's going to be really fun. That's definitely going to be really fun. There are already some other matches announced where, of course, Xander Warwick will face another member of Lethal Gains, or not necessarily Lethal Gains, but of the Richard Page faction. Ace Haven is going to take on Justin McKenzie. Shawn Nelson is going to take on Xander Seabolt, and Alexander Lev versus Aiden Andrews. That is going to be a really, really good show. As far as coming up this weekend, though, Bullpen Professional Wrestling has one over at the. Where is that? I had the flyer up somewhere. There it is. At Goldust Park in Villa Rica. Doors open at 6:30. Bell time at 7:30. We're going to see Zach Buchanan going for the Bull of the Woods Championship against Judas. Zach, wish you the best there. Judas is a big, tough customer. Zach might could pull that off, though. Be real interesting to see how that plays out. Dante Diamond is going to face, fresh off his win, over the Loyalist, Ryan Wendell. He is going to face Rob Adonis for Adonis's belt. He's trying to be a double champ. The TV title will be an open challenge with JT Paradox. We are going to see Alexander Lincoln and his brother Joe Wood against Jacob Ashworth and Xavier Cross. We're going to see Xander Warwick and BK Bennett against Kyle Gunner and Shane Knowles. Could be a good match. And we're going to get to see the aforementioned Ryan Wendell, the Loyalist, against Ethan Dallas. Once again, if you didn't hear what the Loyalist had to say about his opponent, you should definitely tune into that show that we had earlier on this very channel. Also, there's going to have a ton of other people there. So if you're anywhere near Villa Rica on the 11th, definitely go check that show out. Now, let's get into let's do NWA Power. NWA Power this week. We saw Ty Awesome and Sean Carlson with Eric Smalls versus Eric Small's former running mate, the tag champions of Murdoch and Knox. And Murdoch and Knox, of course, retained there. But more importantly, Eric Small says, "I want you two in the ring." Commissioner Corrigan says, "I'm not signing off on a 2-on-1. If he wants to take on one of you, you two figure out who it is, and then we'll go from there." And we'll get to who it was here in a minute. But Murdoch and Knox do retain them as the tag champs, man. Who could possibly, what team out there could possibly beat them? I'm not sure yet. We get another weird exchange in the game store between Mike Mondo and Tiffany Nieves. That game store, boy, it gets wore out. It really does, because Alexander Misery and Lev are normally in there, and I need to ask Lev about that game store. I do. Next time I see him. Then we see James Mitchell and Lev come out with Alex Misery as he took on Rich Swann to determine the number one contendership for the junior heavyweight championship that Alex Taylor currently has. Don't worry if you don't know some of these names. If you have Roku, you can watch NWA Power each and every week. And whether you do or not, you can tune in here and I will tell you all about it. It's fantastic. And actually, the NWA will be in town next 8 days from now, next Friday. Next Friday. That's exciting. I'm going to go. We're going to see who else is going to go from here. Should be a lot of fun. We know some people down there. Looking forward to saying hello to a lot of them. But Rich Swann, of course, wins that one. So him and Alex Taylor are going to go for the are going to battle for the junior heavyweight championship. I think that'll be a fun one there. Um, Aaron Stevens and his protege that I can never remember that kid's name. He's got the big smile face. I forgot his name. Sorry. But he's kind of mentoring him and he's trying to get him to, let's see, did I write it down? Maybe I did. Um, did not. Unfortunately, did not. Had a chance to write it down twice. I did not. But he's trying to mentor him, and it looks like it may or may not pay off. We'll see. We'll see how it does. I do know Aaron Stevens. We'll talk about it next week. That NWA card, I know some of the card already, so we will talk about the whole card next week. Um, Eric Smalls did get his match. It ended up being um, against Knox, and it wasn't much of a match because Murdoch distracted him, and Knox did a running crossbody that literally flattened Eric Smalls. Eric Smalls, by the way, is actually a small person, and not saying oh he's like 4 foot something. No, no, no. He is the I don't know the correct term. He's a small person. He a Hornswoggle. He is Hornswoggle size. You guys will know who Hornswoggle is. He is Hornswoggle size. He's a good wrestler though, but he has stand a chance against Mike Knox. Mike Knox is a beast unto himself. We'll see what happens between that. Um, hopefully he could recover from his wounds, and we will find out next week what actually become of that. Um, Nieves defended her television title against Aaliyah James. She was also one half of the tag team title as well. Tiffany Nieves quite good, quite good. I hope the NWA can hang on to her because her phone's going to be calling, or her phone's going to be ringing soon to probably either appear on Tuesday or Wednesday night. That I could see that. Could definitely see that coming. Aaliyah James, great in a losing effort. She really put up. I thought at times she was going to win, but Natalie Markova was down there doing commentary, and she kind of called out Tiffany Nieves. We'll kind of see what happens with that. Or Natalia, sorry, not Natalie, Natalia Markova. And then we got to see the Country Gentlemen. We saw them at a premiere show. They were good to talk to. I'll put it that way because they are not very nice people in the NWA. But they were gentlemanly to me, I guess is the way to put it. But I definitely don't want to cross them because they are both about twice my size. And you don't make it this far just being a pretty face, folks. You learn when to pick your battles, and I will just respect them from afar. That's where we'll go with that one. But also we got to see Big Strong Mims in a non-title match against the returning Del Pope. And actually, the Pope ended up with this one. It was good to see him back in the ring. The old Elijah Burke, known as the Pope or Da Pope at this point. Big Strong Mims, good showing, but I think he underestimated the Pope. And next time I see Mims, I plan on asking him that particular juncture. Next, let's go into NXT because we know this Tuesday that we just had a couple days ago, 2 days ago, was the big square off between NXT and TNA. We will get into that next week as far as what happened there. But we opened this show with Ricky Saints, JC James, and Ava, and then Santino, Santana, and Kalani James came out. Interesting that Kalani James is Team TNA. because she is NXT through and through, and she is the TNA champion. So I like that they did that. Maybe that means TNA might be a future home for her, at least for a little while. But I definitely liked that wrinkle. We got to see the team of Leon Slater and Javon Evans. That's a team I want to see more of down the road. Don't know if we'll see it on Tuesdays. They're not going to move Javon to TNA, so I guess we'll see it on Tuesdays. Um, the Ethan Page Mustafa Ali battle. These two are going to square it off this past Tuesday. We will talk more about that as well. Mustafa made some really good points. He was promised all these things when he was here before, and he got released before any of them could happen. So now that he's back, he's getting a shot at the North American title that Ethan Page has, and this is going to be a match. I can't wait. These are two of the best, and to see these two square off, I bet this match was 5-star easy. In order to make a good showing to be on Team NXT, Miles Bourne and Josh Briggs squared off. Matt Cardona played a little bit of a role in it, as looks like him and Briggs are going to square off. Miles Bourne instead joined Team NXT. We got to see Fallon Henley versus Lola Vice. Lola Vice, of course, getting the win there. Fallon and JC are going to have this falling out. We already know it's going to happen. Or they could add Laney Reed as the third in that one, because Jasmine Nix decided not to renew her contract, and that's why she was worked off the show. Just like if you're watching Survivor, folks, things happen. We find out that Laney Reed was the one in the hood from the PLE. Makes a lot of sense. She was also not medically cleared to wrestle, so the fact that she was still physical when attacking somebody was a little interesting, but she was not cleared at the beginning. That's why Jada Parker was the fill-in. Or no, there was a fill-in in that match. Javon Evans and Leon Slater did beat Sean Spears and Nico Vance, which are a pretty decent tandem, but they don't team very often, even though they're part of the same faction. So it was like two new teams, but these four worked really well together. And like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if Leon Slater spent more time on Tuesdays than he does on Thursdays. And then there was the melee at the end, NXT and TNA getting into it for the summit, but that just all spilled over to this Tuesday. We'll go to AEW, some of the big things in that one. The Young Bucks and Josh Alexander taking on Brodito and Omega. It was a fun match, but this match was basically there so that Andrade could make his return and attack Kenny Omega, and then Jurassic Express could make their return and take up for Kenny Omega as well, because Kenny Omega has a lot to do with that team being back together. Orange Cassidy and his broken video board, which has now become a weekly thing, took on Kyle Fletcher. 5-star. Two of the absolute best. Fletcher is just on the edge of being a main eventer. Cassidy he's as over as anybody can be. So this match was just spectacular. You got to see all the Orange Cassidy classics, and you got to see Kyle Fletcher. Just that ruthlessness that has made him one of the top stars in AEW right now. Harley Cameron has brought back the Mercedes Moné puppet, which has to annoy Mercedes, but it entertains the rest of us. So let's hope that really sticks around. And then in the main event, Darby Allin and Chris Statlander took on Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir. I wish they would do more mixed tags, because these four really, really gelled and really did some fantastic things. Of course, Darby with his organized recklessness, if there's such a thing, and Chris Statlander getting some shots in on Yuta, I thought were great. Marina Shafir really should wear shoes, because getting dropped feet first onto a stack of tacks probably didn't feel very well. I don't like stepping on one tack, let alone a bunch. And that's why you wear shoes. We went to Collision, where Mox Garcia and Claudio took on Tommy Billingsley, Adam Priest, and Jay Lethal. Good to see Jay Lethal back on. Adam Priest is a local talent. We see him on 1FW here in Atlanta a lot. And Tommy Billington, who is the think he's Dynamite Kid's son is who he actually he's from that realm of things. If that's a fun trio, we knew the Death Riders were going to win, and more importantly, in the end, Matt Menard getting told off by Daniel Garcia is a whole new wrinkle. At some point, those two are going to battle, and it's just we know Menard's not going to ever do anything big. I would like to see him do a lot, but without his partner, I just don't see them doing much more than having him play up Garcia. Um, we got to hear that Nick Wayne is probably still a handful of weeks away from coming back, which is unfortunate for Christian because Christian now has no partner in Edge, whose contract runs out in 3 weeks. I doubt he goes to WWE, by the way. And he can't take on Nick Wayne because Nick Wayne's not cleared to wrestle. I guess he could take on Kip a couple times, and that would be a fun match, but Christian's kind of left out in limbo. Max Caster got called out by Big Bill and Brian Keith. Bowens come to the rescue of him, but they also made it both very clear that this is not the Acclaim. This is Caster and Bowens. So we'll see how long that goes there. Sammy Guevara and Roosh with Jalisco took on Shane Stetson and Cha Cha Charlie. Shout out Cha Cha Charlie. We see him at the Mucha Lucha ATL events here right outside the Atlanta area in Norcross. So Cha Cha Charlie, great job, buddy. Good to see you on TV. Not so much on the result. You're not going to beat Guevara and Roosh, who could be an interesting duo going forward. Eddie Kingston came back to take on Jalisco. That was a fun match, but Eddie Kingston, of course, gets the win in that one. That spinning back fist he does, it is just exceptional. We got to see more of Dalton Castle and the Outrunners. That is a trio we need more of because they are all in that weird space of the world where they probably see flying hippos and we don't, and they are fantastic for it. When we make it to TNA, having Kalani Jordan over there, like I said, is a big boost to them. It really shakes up their women's division, and I think she matches up with the Lei Ying Lees and the Zaya Brooksides and things like that. They got to do something because Masha Slamovich is facing charges because of things she did, and they just lost their actual champion to some sort of medical condition. So Kalani is taking over. Probably going to do some good work once he's over there. Showing that Amazing Red and Santana are friends. I didn't know that, but Amazing Red apparently has been helping mentor Santana, and that's going to really put him in a good headspace. We'll talk more next week if I think his chances are of taking the title. But then we had new women's tag champions as the Inspiration beat the Elegance brand. Once again, the Elegance brand without Ash by Elegance. So I kind of see that team. I want them to stick around, but they're probably just gonna filter, kind of fizzle out because they don't have the head of their organization. But the Inspiration being the tag champs, that's fine. They need to do more with their women's division over there. They really don't. And I know right now they're in the middle of this weird cross brand thing, but might be the perfect time to have them go to NXT and defend a little bit. But that's everything I got for this week. Another great edition of Strong Style. I am Jeremy the Impact York. Remember, this Saturday, Bullpen Professional Wrestling at Gold Dust Park in Villa Rica. Tell them the Impact sent you. And other than that, we will see you guys next week. Deuces, gooses. Watch wrestling. Go watch fighting.